Do I even exist? Welcome back to the TV Corner, guys. Today we are talking about Loki. Loki follows the titular character as he escapes from the Battle of New York in Avengers after the events of Avengers Endgame, and subsequently breaks time as we know it. That mischievous Loki. This obviously stars Tom Hiddleston, and it also stars Sophia DiMartino and Owen Wilson. And as such, my highs today are going to be wows. This is pretty obvious, but very big spoiler alert. We got some really weird things happening in this series. There are a lot of wows in this series. Obviously, Loki himself, he is always entertaining. Every time I see him, he gets more entertaining, more charismatic, and charming. He's just super fun. And in this specifically, he's awesome because we get to look deeper into his character and his personality. So not only is he already the mischievous and cunning and plotting guy that we are always used to, but we get even more depth, and even more layers to why he is the way he is. The thing about Phase 4 that's really apparent to me now is that we're getting even deeper looks into certain characters, specifically through these TV shows. And it's weird because it makes you think back to when we first met them and all three phases up till now, and how they've almost been not caricatures or anything, but it's like we didn't know so much about them even though we thought we did. So it almost makes me feel like, was that character we were introduced to the original idea of this is who this is supposed to be, and now we're just kind of adding on to it and changing them a little bit, or this is always who they were? You know what I mean? Because like Loki in this is much different than the Loki we were first introduced to. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but it's just weird because it makes it feel like, is this a different person? Or are we just getting more layers now? It's like the writers, I want to ask them, like, did you have this in mind when you first wrote Loki in Avengers and Thor? Obviously, probably not. But it just makes you think. Sophia DiMartino playing Sylvie, the other version of Loki in this that we see pretty much 24/7, is really great. She had really great chemistry with Tom Hiddleston. They really, I mean, they're the same person and yet not the same person. She was a really good character, having this revenge, having this cunning that he has, but she's more of let's go for it right now, less of a planner. And so that was a really cool side to that Loki, who is also untrustworthy and can't trust people, but is not as planning and is more action. Although I guess she did plan, because she planned this whole thing for years to break the timelines and see the timekeepers. And she was just a really great character. I really loved her because she seems kind of really annoying at first, but then obviously you grow to like her because you know more about her character and her backstory, and you feel for her. And their chemistry was just so great. It is really weird though. Like, you're like, is this true love or is this narcissism at its purest? I don't. Uh, this is the best thing I have ever seen Owen Wilson do, and that includes Night at the Museum. I loved him in this. He was so Owen Wilson. It was perfect. Like he had like the wholesomeness that Owen Wilson brings to everything, but he was also really serious about stuff. He was really grounded as this character. He was like a great agent because he wasn't just like business all the time. He actually cared about his job. I love him, and I'm really excited that he's coming back for some more things. I was really shocked when he got pruned. I had a feeling like that wasn't the end for him. I was specifically because it was the fourth episode. But honestly, I almost think I like him more than Loki in this, just because he was just such a good character. Although it is a crime that they didn't allow him to say wow once. Like they had to have done that on purpose. They had to have. Jonathan Majors also was incredible as the one who remains, or whoever he's supposed to be, the Conqueror or whatever. I think I had seen theories that he's supposed to be Kang, but I'm not sure. They never actually disclosed that. They just kind of maybe alluded to it. I really thought when the timekeepers weren't real, I was like, all right, this subverted my expectations in a much better way than, say, Last Jedi. And I was really excited to see who was behind it, even though I already knew that he was in it. I had seen pictures before I actually watched it. I will say he thoroughly entertained me, and he was way better than anything I think that I could have expected, because this is one of those shows that, like, conceptually it's going to be awesome, and then you try to execute it, you're like, anything in your imagination, could be like, this could be amazing, but nothing really could, like, meet that expectation, because we're talking about such huge concepts. But I think he was really great. He did an amazing job. He was so entertaining, and he was only in it for the one episode, at least for now. There's going to be a season 2, and he's obviously going to be in it multiple times probably. He was just so entertaining for the 30 minutes he was in this series. He was so great. I actually haven't seen him, I don't think, in anything. I know he's in Lovecraft Country, RIP. And other than that, I don't know what else he's in, but I want to see him in more stuff because he was really great. The look of the show is also really cool. It's got so much color. I mean, the lighting team just had to have, like, been in heaven making this show, because it's so cool. I did see a theory that each episode is one of the Infinity Stones, and I thought it was because of, like, concept. Like, the first one would be the Soul Stone because we look into Loki's soul. The fifth one would be the reality because there's all these different Lokis. No, they were just talking about the color tint of each episode, which is actually very true. It is like orange and purple and blue, and so I do get that. And that is very cool. Like I said, like, the lighting is just awesome. Like, the whole look of the whole thing is incredible, because it's just so good to look at. I don't know. It's just really cool. Like, it's like it took, like, the colorful aspect of Phase 3 that people were really excited over and, like, did it to a million. It's like every single thing is colorful, and I love it. I also love the look of the TVA itself and how its technology is sort of like this 80s sort of technology. It's like kind of little bits and squares and stuff, and it's not like the technology we have now. It's like super streamlined or smooth looking. It's like it's sort of digital-ish looking and kind of old-timey, which is really cool. Kind of also has that WandaVision feel to it. And actually, anybody who's visited Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, that Chocolate World ride, and like all the little TVs and everything that they have everywhere where they kind of show you how they make the chocolate and you have all this animation. It reminded me a lot of that. It was really cool with, like, Miss Minutes and all. Super cool. And then the biggest wow, I think, for this was conceptually. I mean, the first 2 episodes, I was like, all right, this is pretty good. It's looking into his personality, and it's kind of like this little serial. He's going to go try to work with them to find this other Loki. And then after, like, episode 3, episode 4 gets into, like, I don't know, a brain blast of stuff. It's insane. The concepts in this, it's one of those things that I'm like, if I think about it too long, I'm gonna go insane, and I just want to enjoy it. I don't know. It was so many interesting. The fact that they were able to, like, logically explain all of this, and I was pretty much mostly able to, like, follow along and enjoy it, was insane. The concepts of time and space and reality. I'll talk about that more in a minute. I do have a few lows, or I guess lows. One of them is that Loki doesn't act like the Loki from Avengers where he escaped from. He acts like the Loki that we knew right before he died, like in Ragnarok and Infinity War. And that's okay at the end of the series, because he's softened and we know more about him, and he's been broken and, come to his more empathetic side. But towards the beginning, we have to remember he just came from Avengers, where he was this, for whatever reasons, were behind it, he was a homicidal maniac. He was like genocidal, and he was killing so many people, and he was just pretty much awful. Like, he was super manipulative, no matter the reasons that were behind it. And then we get to the beginning of this, which was directly after those events. And he's, like, quipping, and he's funny. I mean, not that he wasn't quipping in Avengers, but he was just very funny. He felt sort of soft. Yes, he didn't have all of his powers in the first episode, so that was a big downgrade, obviously, in terms of what he could do. But I don't know, he just felt like he was more fun and more Phase 3 Loki rather than Phase 1 Loki. He just didn't feel as evil and like the guy who had just killed 80 people in 2 days in the beginning of this series. The idea of the variants, too, was a little confusing to me, just because if we're talking about variants of a timeline, I feel like, wouldn't it just be variants of this same looking Loki that we know, just in different time branches? It is explained several times throughout the series, so it's for the most part makes sense. But it's weird to me that there's variants of a timeline, but in other worlds, Because it's like, okay, well, if this is the one world and we branch off this timeline and do a different time, okay, that makes sense. But if there's other worlds, like Sylvie, she was in another Asgard. How is that breaking off of this timeline if that already existed? It wasn't a break off of this one that we know. It already existed. Again, I can't overthink it too much or I'm just gonna explode. But I that didn't quite make sense to me. And it's really sad because that's like a core thing of this whole series and the future of this phase. My last low is that I'd heard something about this before I'd seen the rest of the series after the first episode, but a lot of people are saying that it makes the first three phases feel a little inconsequential or not, that they don't have as much weight. Like we saw the Infinity Stones in the first episode and there was just like a bunch of them. Like they were nothing, like they were paperweights. It very much makes especially Infinity War and Endgame feel like it doesn't have as much weight. I don't want to be that guy, but it kind of does. You know, if I go back and watch them, I'll be like, oh, well, there's like 1,000 of these events happening at the same time. There's 1,000 of Loki's and of Thanos's and Thani. So it just makes it feel kind of nihilistic. So that's kind of a bummer. But, you know, I mean, it sucks if you're going back to watching the stuff beforehand a little bit. But we're moving on. They have to top phase 3, and they are. So you have to get crazy with it. And in getting crazy with it, I just need to talk. I just want to talk about time and space and how they physically. This is neither high nor low. I just need to just figure this out. They went into a void, which is at the end of time, but it wasn't the end of time because the end of time is where he's actually writing it. Okay, that makes sense. So they have to go through it to get there. But then, the fact that they took time and made it a path, and but if it's a path but there's other worlds happening at the same time, what is happening? Honestly, guys, my advice for phase 4, now that we've gotten to the point where I think we're really starting to get into what this is going to be about, don't overthink it. I know I'm going to anyway, so I'm a hypocrite. I think we should just enjoy it for what it is. It's going to be super fun. It's going to be super insane with the Spider-Verse and the multiverse and Doctor Strange. What if, everything coming up. I think first time around, enjoy the crap out of it because it's going to be insane. And just, I don't know why that thing's here. I don't know why we're seeing this or that, but I'm enjoying it. And then upon a second or third rewatch, then try to figure it out and then explode. If we don't do that, we're just not going to enjoy any of phase 4 and it's going to kind of suck and I think ruin it. So just try to enjoy it. Don't try to overthink it. I'm going to try my best not to. So overall, Loki is very fun. It's incredibly thought-provoking. I hate it. I love it. Tom Hiddleston is charming as ever. The characters are so much fun. It's just so interesting to look at. Oh no. Oh God, it's happening. Across the threshold. I'm going to give Loki a 3.5 out of making it my next series in the middle. No, but for real, I'm going to give Loki a 3.5 out of 4. Or do I? And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and something right in the middle. Just at least it's on the timeline. You know, just don't break things off and have them not be in the middle. And just it's more complicated that way. Just keep something in the middle, okay?